Hi, and welcome to the Social Angle, a podcast that helps promo pros gain an edge in the social media realm. I'm Digital Content Director Vinny Driscoll, and on this episode, I am joined by Chris McKee, Senior Vice President and Chief Revenue Officer at Geiger, to discuss one of the industry's coolest pieces of real estate, the Geiger Light Tower, and how it's helped propel their social media. Chris, welcome to the Social Angle.
Thanks, Vince. Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, I mean, this has been a topic, it's been on my radar. It's interested me for a while. I've been following you guys, on social media, and you guys do a great job of promoting it. But before we get started with the questions, can you take a minute to introduce yourself and how you find yourself in the promo industry?
Yeah, this is one that we all ask, like, how on earth did you end up in promo? And I think I arrived in promo just like most everybody else. I just stumbled upon it. And 26 years later, I'm still here. And 26 years in our company that's sort of normal tenure. It's nothing exceptional. I think, Vince, also though, what's interesting is really how long people stay in promo. That really, you pick the company, lots of tenure. And I've been thinking, everyone has their idea of why this is, but it seems our industry is just a little different. Just to kind of what's the fabric between our that distributor and production partner relationship. We absolutely need each other, and
Right.
I think that's different than your typical customer vendor situation. So yeah, I think a lot of us have just stumbled our way, unless your family owned the company prior. Yeah, all of a sudden you've done a few jobs, and then all of a sudden here you are.
It's funny. I ask people this question all the time. It's one of my starter questions, and they all say the same thing about stumbling into this industry. So many people, unless they're born into it, they have family, they grow up understanding the industry. They kind of like find themselves in this industry almost by accident. Like for me, I started in this industry 15 years ago. I was more like a webmaster. Social media wasn't really part of my job description yet, because in 2007, business and social media really kind of didn't go hand in hand. It was something that you used personally, and it was, it evolved. But to me, I took the job to do website management and found myself in this brand new industry that at first I didn't really understand. And I think a lot of people don't understand the industry fully when they enter it. But eventually I got to the point where I'm like, wow, this is a really interesting industry. And 15 years later, I'm still here, and I love it.
Yeah, I attribute to it. I was on a friend's porch in Fayette, Maine, talking about careers, and actually gentleman was executive vice president of our manufacturing division, and he said, "Have you ever thought about Geiger?" And I was like, "What on earth is a Geiger?" And
Right.
One thing led to another, and next thing you know, I'm a Geiger. So.
And a lot of people kind of exclamate their sentences by saying like, and 26 years later, and 15 years later, and 30 years later, here I am, in this industry, an industry that a lot of people have really grown to love. So let's get down to our conversation, Chris. The Geiger Light Tower, I'll kind of describe it for those who don't know. It's like a rectangular shaped 30-foot extension of Geiger's main headquarters in Lewiston, Maine. It's lit up often for things like holidays, sporting events, and even to raise awareness. Can you give us a little bit of history on the tower and how it came to be?
Yeah, that's actually it's a great description, and it's actually 36-foot structure.
Oh, I was close.
Yeah, but darn
Yeah.
close. Actually, it's surprisingly constructed from 25 tons of steel
Oh,
that
wow.
supports
Okay.
that structure. So this is a significant structure. It was actually the idea of Joanne Lance, our CEO, and I think generally it was based on the Prudential Building in Boston, and like a lot of buildings around the country where they're lit up for a championship team or the holidays. And so when we were designing our new building back in 2015, this idea came up. Now, maybe this is company lore, that it was actually at one point talked about maybe having this like 70 feet.
Oh,
And I
wow.
think, yeah, that's pretty. And I think some folks, okay,
Yeah.
look, 36 feet is going to be enough. We don't need 70 tons of steel because you
Right.
got to think about anything with size. 36 feet. There's things like wind shear. There's all sorts of the structural engineer that had to put together these plans. It must have been amazing. And I actually went into the belly of the beast of sorts this morning inside the light tower, and I actually hadn't been inside it. And it is constructed. I mean, think of like a parking garage. I mean, just the steel I beams and everything to support it. So it's significant. That side of the building will not fall because it's anchored to
Right.
that structure. But it's been a wonderful piece of our building, and it was really great when we built the building to have something that's really exciting attached to it.
So Chris, how old is the tower?
Yeah, so we moved in. We actually occupied the building in 2017. So it's really been 2007. What's that deal? 5 or 6
Okay.
years that it's been in
So
existence.
so it's relatively new.
Oh yeah, brand new. It was not. It was only part of the new building construction. It was not there previously.
Okay. So that transitions into my next question. So how often is the tower lit?
Yeah, so every day, dusk until 1 a.m. It's lit, and our building is 100% powered by the sun. We have almost 700 solar panels right here beside our building that powers our whole facility 100%. And so the light tower is also powered by the sun. So doing the count, it's about just under 1,300 LED lights. That is
Oh wow.
part of it.
Okay.
Okay, so the light configuration is complicated, but that actually gives 2.4 billion color variations. So when you're looking to design what that lighting package is going to be for each night, you have a lot of options. So a lot of colors, a lot of movement, etc. So it's pretty significant. But I think also you think of something when I say it's all these LED, 1,300 LED lights, all these colors, the structure, all that. You think, geez, it must draw an incredible amount of power. And
Right.
when you're running something that is powered by the sun and solar powered, you have to be really efficient. So we have all these sensors that track our power and our power usage. And so when that drops off, when it turns off at 1 a.m., our sensors don't even pick it up. It's that negligible of a
Oh
power.
wow.
So it's almost nothing to power such a, because you have all these lights, they amplify against this other background that I guess that amplifies the light. So almost no power.
Yeah, I've seen your initiatives, about solar power, and I've seen the panels. It looks like they're across the street from, or they're right there in front of the Geiger building. So I know you guys have, made a significant, effort to keep things green at the facility. Now, you talked about the LED lights, and I've seen the patterns. There's different patterns and there's different colored lights. So is there a programmer involved in this type of, coming up with light shows? Things are, streaming in different directions. Like, how difficult is it to come up with new streaming patterns?
So there is a programmer, but it's design, so it's also
Okay.
creative. So when some people might say, look, is a programmer and creative, maybe those collide, but not really. And there's a lighting package or program that you use to design it. It obviously has some built-in templates that you can use, but they have a lot of fun with it
Right.
because they're just limitless designs that you can do, not just color, but how those colors move across the panels.
Right.
So
Right.
it's a lot of design, a lot of creativity, and really a lot of fun. But I mean, look, there's some serious campaigns that we do that we project,
Sure.
but there's a lot of fun that happens too because of something that someone wants to do. So no, it's a lot of fun with it as well.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about the serious campaigns. You've guys, support, the people in Ukraine. You've lit up for, in the blue and the yellow for Ukraine. You do a lot of awareness, breast cancer awareness, Alzheimer's. To me, I feel like there's definitely a serious component to, to your tower, but also you celebrate holidays. You celebrate, you know, uh, sporting events. You guys in New England win a lot of championships lately, so you've got opportunity to light the tower up in New England Patriots, blue and red. So to me, I feel like there's certainly a lot of opportunity for that. As a New York sports fan, there's a huge drought in my life, so it's to me, New York wouldn't even factor on on your tower there. Um, so let me ask you about what you light the tower up for. How do you decide on what you're going to light the tower for?
Yeah. So with your Patriots comments, we just lost most of your viewership. So all three people that were watching now, we now maybe now have one. So we start with a general calendar, and that sort of builds over time. So so there are things that we support, and that could be breast cancer awareness or Pride Month that there are always going to be presented on the light tower. But then we add in Halloween, Hanukkah, Christmas, Valentine's Day, St. Patrick's Day. This weekend we'll light it for Easter. It's 4th of July. Those will be always the kind of things. But then we'll also add in maybe important things of within our organization. So, a few years ago, we had a colleague die in a tragic car accident out in Arizona. And, her favorite flower was the sunflower. So on the anniversary of her passing, we light the tower in yellow and bright colors in memory of her.
Right.
And so those are the things that are sort of the heartfelt things within the company, and that's the fabric of our organization. But then we sprinkle it with fun things. So we have, so it could be a local sports team. They win a state championship. We're going to light it up in their colors. It could be, and also we have associates around the world. So it's not just here locally.
Sure.
It could be someone anywhere. It could be a soccer team in London, football as they remind me. It could be in their colors. So this is something that we engage lots of people. And I think as far as the social element, the social, the social media element of it is that's what you want engagement. And you want engagement from as many different people as you can, because look, we all have our own networks, but it's how do I tap into other networks? How do they use it?
Right.
Because, we use this tower for, I think, look, you're always trying to drive sales. That's what we're all trying to do. But we're also trying to find new associates. We want to have people know who we are. We're right on the interstate here, and tens of thousands of cars pass us. So how do we get people to look? Oh, what's Geiger? And so you're sponsoring the baseball team, the Red Sox affiliate here. So you have signage there. You're just trying to use all these different methods to actually pull people in. So this has actually worked quite well for that.
Yeah, and you've unpacked a lot there, Chris. But the brand awareness, the staying top of mind. To me, I feel like this is a huge benefit of the light tower. You guys have this amazing piece of real estate. You showcase it in your social media, and that's really kind of why we're having this conversation today. We're talking about social media, talking about Geiger, an industry distributor. To me, I feel like this is really the gist of this conversation. So, the tower is made for social media. When I first noticed it, I was like, this is perfect. This is content that people love. You guys light it up for all different reasons. Can you give us some insight in how well the content does on social media?
Yeah, we get a fantastic response. And actually, some folks have said, geez, we really should have a Geiger Light Tower channel of its own. So people can visit it. And there's a certain point of like, wait, look, we're just diluting our message here, and we need to actually keep it a little more compact. So we do get a very good response. And we have a social media manager, Heather Young. She manages the content to make sure that it's consistent with other messages and keeping things, pretty tidy. But this is really, it's an element. I'll go back. This is an element of our strategy. It isn't the strategy, but it's an element of it. It's been, successful. But we also, we love to see how other people use it. So you say that, hey, I've seen it on your social media and how we use it, but we see it also from how other people use it. There are people that are going by on the highway and they're taking a shaky video and sharing it, or you'll see people randomly in our parking lot or who have pulled around the front of our building and taking pictures and they're posting it to their social, or they're they're texting it to their family or whatever it is. There's different ways that they're using it. And again, it's this different elements of engagement. And okay, I'll use an example, Vince. And this is for you mentioned that your Jets will never might not make the tower
ever.
Well, look, a long time that the Patriots wouldn't have made it either. But
right.
But look, if we lit that tower, green and white, in your honor, Vince. Okay, so let's say I lit the tower tonight in green and white in your honor. What are the chances that you would share that with your network?
Oh, big time.
Right, pretty big
Yeah,
time.
for sure.
Now, what if I also tagged the Jets and they picked it up and they actually pushed it out to theirs? It's this cascade of getting out to people that we look. The Jets are not going to carry something that, unless we have an incredible promotion, they're
Right.
not going to carry it in their social. You're not going to necessarily push something out because it has to be personal. So it has to be, how does it impact you? So that's where, let's see what I can do. If I can get it in green
Right.
and white, unless maybe I won't tell the team that it's for the Jets. I might have to actually just come up with some other thing. Yeah, it'd be valuable to you. So, and that's just making connections that we don't have.
Sure.
It's just spreading our message, spreading a little wider. And that can look, that's every person that comes in contact with this light tower in some ways is personal to them. And that could be the breast cancer awareness, whatever it is, and how they share it. How do they feel about our company? Because this is also ties into our company culture, what we feel is important to us, part of the Geiger way. And so, yeah, we use it to our benefit every way we can.
So, Chris, let me ask you about. I mean, we talked about tagging, you know, entities that you're lighting the tower up for. Have you gotten any press because of what you've done with the tower?
We have. We actually, and I just most recently, just for the support of the Ukrainian people, lighting up the tower in yellow and blue. That actually was carried. I mean, not just locally. I mean, we had some really good local press. This is twofold. One is a number of media outlets carried it, both in print but mainly television. But then that was carried by so many other people because they saw it. It actually
Sure.
got a very wide reach, and not just here locally, but it spread out across the country and a few other places. So there are times, and I think this is probably for any company and campaign, when you capture something at the right moment,
Sure.
then it is effective. Now, I want to say that we don't do it for that reason. So when we do that, so for example, in yellow and blue, we didn't do that because we want it to be carried by television. I
Sure.
think that's just a nice look. That's a nice added benefit. But we want to promote the things that are important to us and the values of our
Sure.
company and the associates that are working here. So that's we actually got some good media from it. I get
Yeah, that's
long
great.
answer to what could have been a very quick. One.
No, that's great. Again, I'm talking to Chris McKee from Geiger, and we're talking about the light up tower, which, if you haven't heard about their light up tower, go to their social media. You guys promote it pretty much on all your social media networks. Now let's talk about a reason that you lit the tower up recently in purple. You lost a very valuable member of your team, and everyone's valuable. But Laura Bossy, she was the VP of HR. I think she's been at the company for a long time. You guys lit up the tower in her memory, purple. Can you tell us a little bit about Laura and what she meant to Geiger?
Now, I've seen a lot of episodes of your podcast, Vince, but I don't know. Is this one where your podcast is trying to get the guy to cry? Is that the angle that you're shooting for?
I've
I
only
think it's
had
about
one person cry.
yeah,
I'm
it's
going
like
to keep it at one.
the movie Jerry Maguire. Yeah, I kind of yeah. So Laura was just an incredible person in our organization, and it was really heartbreaking her passing just recently. And anybody that has been hired within the company in the last 50 years has come in contact with Laura, and she was an extremely thoughtful, caring to a fault, respected by everyone. Just an incredible individual. So we lit the tower up in purple. Purple is also the color of an organization that she was just really passionate about, Safe Voices, and it's an organization to support the end of domestic violence. It's something that she had impacted her life at an early age, and something she supported her entire life. And she actually brought the company we supported as well. So purple was the right color for her, and and that's kind of you want to use this tower in that way.
Sure.
We will probably light it in purple, I suspect, every year in her memory as well.
Yeah, that's great. What a great gesture. From what I've read, and heard, Laura was, she was a great coworker and somebody that meant a lot to the Geiger family. So, my condolences on her passing, but it's really nice to see that you guys are honoring her, with the light tower.
And it impacts her family too. So it's her Geiger family, but also her family. So they can see, you always want to see that your family member was cherished and valued by others, and this is one of the ways that we can express that.
Sure. All right, Chris. So I got a couple more questions left for you. And they're on the lighter side. We're taking it out of the Jerry Maguire zone here. So what are some of the favorite reasons the tower has been lit in the past?
Well, look, I just mentioned that the Ukrainian flag, colors of the Ukrainian flag for the Ukrainian people was I actually was one of my favorite. Just very timely, and actually, like I said, we did get a lot of good feedback from it. And actually, as part of that, we donated $25,000 to Doctors Without Borders,
okay,
and then an additional $25,000 matching funds from donations from Geiger Associates. So it's actually having some money behind it. So not just putting up on our light bar,
sure,
but actually some money behind it. But I think there's some things, so we did the light blue campaign for essential workers. That one was very good. For example, our decoration distribution center, these folks worked throughout the pandemic. So again, ways to congratulate them and others who are doing the hard work when a lot of us were working from home. But we've got a whole bunch of Lakers fans here, so it's purple and gold will be there.
Really?
Yeah, member of Kobe and all. You name it.
Okay.
If there's because we're nationwide around the country, if there's a sports team that has won a championship, whether we like them or not, yes, it's going to be on the light tower.
Sure.
I mean, there's some crazier things that have gone up in memory of whatever, and it could be something invented,
right.
But I think it's just whenever it can be fun. Then
you could do a purple and gold in memory of the Lakers season, which just ended. Well, pretty much they've been eliminated. So as a Knicks fan, I'm right there. Elimination is part of the Knicks season. So making the playoffs. What playoffs? So
yeah, you just became David Geiger's least favorite person today. So congratulations on that. Yeah, I'll put one up in memory of your relationship with David Geiger. Will be the.
What color would you use for that?
I don't know. It's
black.
We just go dark. I mean,
just go dark.
We have gone dark before for something, but yeah, it's maybe it's just dark.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, David. I didn't realize. But it's funny because I went back through your social media, quite a ways, just looking at some of the things that you guys have lit the tower up for, and it seems like, there's something every couple of weeks that you guys are lighting the tower up for and promoting on social media. I've seen, spring and autumn, the awarenesses like breast cancer awareness, Alzheimer's, men's health, 9/11, 4th of July, Christmas, Hanukkah, everything. You guys, and it doesn't seem like you have, a shortage of things to light the tower up for. I think you guys could light it up every single day of the year. You would have something to light it up for.
Yeah, and we absolutely the key events throughout the year. We're always going to post that on social. That's something that's tried and true. Yeah, you don't generally see some of the lighter things of something that maybe just inside joke stuff here in the company, and that's why probably some folks have its own channel. No, we try to use it, and it's in conjunction with other things that you're going to see on any of our social channels. So, yeah, it's just it's an element of it.
For sure.
There are a lot of things that are very key to any of us, whether it's Alzheimer's awareness, those sort of things. Yeah, that's important to us. So we want to make sure that we're connecting with that. And anytime we can use it as in connection with some sort of promotion that we're doing, or it ties into something we're doing with a client, we want to do that too. By the way, and most of the time we're taking videos, taking pictures, we're pushing it directly to them. Rather than just through our channel, so they can see it, and then they tend to share it on their site.
Definitely. All right, Chris, I got one last question before we wrap up. I always end with a final fun question. Now, we're going to be talking sports on this one,
All right.
so
Okay. Go ahead.
I hope I don't offend anybody here.
Mhm.
You guys are New England. I'm New York. So, of the four major pro New England sports teams, which one would you like to see lit in honor of a championship in 2022, which is always a possibility in New England lately?
Yeah, I have a feeling with my answer, it'll be okay, Chris, cancel. I'm going to get roasted the biggest for this one. So, of the four, I'm probably, I'm a kind of always root for the underdog. I'm going to say the Bruins. And I have a feeling
Okay.
you would have suspected that, but I know I don't have my numbers right, but I think they've had the fewest championships. Because I think the Celtics have had like, the 17, the Red Sox have had like 9, the Patriots, they've had a couple. So
Yeah.
and I think the Bruins maybe had 6. So,
Yeah.
and actually, well, that could be lit up here in the not. It could or could not be lit in their favor here. You know what? We're going to light up for the Bruins anyways, just in support of their season. How about
Sure.
that?
Sure. As a Rangers fan, we're both. It looks like both teams are Rangers are in the playoffs. Bruins, they're in a wild card right now.
Mhm.
So I think that if they make it in, and I don't know who they're going to get in the first round. I don't think they're going to get the Rangers, but eventually maybe these two teams can meet, and you and I can do a little side bet. Whoever wins that series, light it up for the Rangers. I know it won't be popular up there, but you know, who knows? You never
if,
know.
if your team wins, we'll light it up in your honor. I can assure you that. How about that? That's
We
the
ha-
that's the one commitment I can make today.
we have this. We have evidence here, Chris, and I'm going to hold you to it. If the New York Rangers win the Stanley Cup in 2022, you guys are going to light it up for the Rangers. I like that.
100%.
All right, Chris. All right, thank you, Chris, so much for taking the time today. This has been a great conversation. If anybody wants to get a hold of you, how can they do that?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, look, you can track me down at Geiger.com. See McKee at Geiger.com is probably the best way.
Awesome. All right, Chris, thanks again so much for your time today.
Thanks, Vince. Appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. We'll see you next time on The Social Angle.